Peace and peace. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 29th, and today we're talking about 1 Corinthians 13. This is often referred to as the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, 1 to 13. It's often read in weddings. Love is patient, love is kind. If you haven't read the passage, why don't you go check it out and then come back here. The way this works is I'll share my thoughts about the passage, and I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below so that we can learn from one another. You know, I believe the Holy Spirit speaks to us, and oftentimes he'll show us something different. And so just yesterday, as I read through the comments, there were so many things I did not see that other people pointed out. So, hey, anyway, let's talk about 1 Corinthians 13. The context here is Paul's talking to a church that struggles with division. And they've already been divided. So he's been talking about unity. He's talking about the body as a whole and how it's made up of different body parts, different spiritual gifts, and how they need to work together. And so that's the kind of the context. Now, the first thing I want to say today, this is not a wedding poem, right? This is not meant to be read in a wedding. So if you really step back at what's happening here is, at the end of the last chapter, chapter 12, Paul was talking about the body and the different spiritual gifts and how no gift is more important than the other. So then if you take a look at how it ends, so chapter 12 ends with, "But now let me show you a way of life that's best of all." And then Paul starts in the first verse of 13, "If I could speak in all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong and clanging cymbal." And then if he talks about the gifts of prophecy and gift of knowledge, and so what he's saying is that this is a divided body who is showing that certain gifts are more important than the others, et cetera, et cetera. Paul says that love is more important than all of those gifts. That's the second thing. The first thing, it's not really a wedding poem. The second thing is love is greater than any of the gifts. So he talks about gifts in the first few verses, and then it starts verses 4. He talks about love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, not boastful. And so this is written to this people, this group of people who are divided. They're fractured. There's different levels, probably cliques, rich, poor, etc. And Paul's trying to help them understand that love is more important than their division and their fighting over which gifts are more important. Love is more important than any of the spiritual gifts. And then finally, when I take a look at this passage as a whole, this is Jesus's life. So this is Jesus in action. So Jesus shows us what a patient love is, a kind love is, not jealous. And so we see as Christians, we are follow the model of Jesus, and not just individually, but collectively. And I think that's the key piece. This is written to a church. This is not just written to a husband and a wife, or somebody who is engaged. This is written to a group of people that have been trying to live together in love but unsuccessful. So Paul's encouraging them to let their division and their battles amongst each other go and come together with love being the center of everything. So it's not a wedding poem. Love is greater than any of the spiritual gifts. And then this love is what Jesus demonstrated in his life. It's a beautiful poem, don't get me wrong, but it's very important that we study this passage in context so we can understand what Paul's trying to say to a divided church. So if you look at, and I encourage you to do this, go back and look at chapter 12, because we've studied 12 the last 2 weeks, and then this and 13, and then next week we continue with, I think, 15. And so we begin to see that Paul's message here is to this particular church. Now, I can get a lot out of it. I have to understand that as a pastor of a church, that love is the most important thing. And oftentimes there are things that rise up as very important within our church, but I have to recognize that love is more important. For us, it goes along with our first core value, love integration, that love should be integrated into everything we do. So anyway, those are some things that I'm thinking about. Why don't you share, if you would, please, pretty please, your thoughts in the comments, and so we can learn together. I will see you tomorrow as we jump into Jeremiah. Hey, have a great day. Stay warm out there.